Hello, and God bless. Welcome to the Virtual Church TV show. So happy to have you here this evening. Hoping that your night's going well and hoping that you are doing well. Today, I just want to say it's great having you. Hopefully, you had a wonderful Sunday wherever you may be situated. I'm hoping and praying that you're doing well. Today, we're going to spend a little time just talking about some current events and talking about what's been happening over the last few days. As the title of this particular video says, we're going to be talking about the tornadoes that took place in 6 states over the last few days. We're going to be talking about that. But we're going to be talking also about pretty much the importance of valuing each other and valuing our families, valuing those that are around us. And, we're in the holiday season and so forth. So I think it's a good time for us to talk about friends, family, and those that are around us. So once again, I just wanted to say welcome to the Virtual Church TV show. I'm your host, Neville Solomon, and I'm so excited about this broadcast and just being with you another week. This is episode number 3. So it's been 3 weeks that we've been talking to you on Sunday evenings. And I'm praying and believing that it has been a blessing for those of you who have joined us live. And for those of you who have joined us on the replay, gang, I'm hoping and confident that you're also enjoying these videos. So this evening, a lot I want to talk to you about, so much I want to talk to you about. I'm excited about having an opportunity just to be able to connect with you. And I'm believing that in the next little while, we'll be able to have some fun, hopefully learn some things that are new, and I'm open to your interaction, whether that be writing or if you actually want to come in to the stream yourself and you want to share your thoughts and your ideas. So today's topic is pretty general, but hopefully you have heard about the situation that happened in America. We could talk a little bit more about that. Before I actually delve into that, I just wanted to share that so far, the weekend has been great for myself. I can't complain. Been able to rest and relax, which is always good to do. Sometimes, you can get so busy that you don't get to really take some time out to just relax and to be able to calm yourself. So I'm happy that this weekend has been a pretty good weekend and I can't complain. So before we get into the main topic, I guess what I wanted to do is just kind of share some thoughts with you. So the thoughts I wanted to share with you pretty much are, has there been anything interesting or anything amazing this weekend? And I can say yes, I had an interesting conversation with one of my really good friends. We were talking about something that interests us. We were talking about publishing books. So he's writing a book, I'm writing a book, and we're talking about just going through that process. So I love to encourage people to be creative and to use whatever gifts they have and to use whatever ideas that they have to be able to inspire others. So for me, a huge thing that I'm really into is just being creative as a whole, but I'm getting into the creativity of writing. I'm currently writing a book. I don't really have a title per se. I'm kind of open to maybe a suggestion from you who are out here, whether you are live or whether you're on the replay. I'm hoping for some suggestions for the title of my book. I'm writing a book on worship. I'm talking about the 5 major benefits of worship. So that's kind of the working title. Another way that I was looking at saying it is the 5 aspects of worship that will change your life. I'm kind of still working on the title, but the book for the most part has been completed, and I'm talking about some major lessons that I've learned as it relates to worship. So I'm so happy to have you here this evening. And I'm praying and believing that in our conversation, we'll be able to just have a good time and be able to talk with each other. I don't know if anyone here is interested in writing a book or anyone has ever thought about writing a book. If you were going to write a book, in the comment section, just kind of give me an idea of what kind of book you would write. So if you're here live with us, feel free to just type in and to let me know. If you were going to write a book, what topic would it be on? Possibly if you had a title, what would you write about? And if you're watching this on replay and you're thinking about writing a book, what kind of book would you write? What would the title be? And I guess some of the questions that you could probably ask as well is, what things would you like to know about writing a book that you don't know about if you're interested in writing a book? Because I've been in the process for a while. I've written a few books. My major book I wrote a couple years ago, and it has really been a blessing to a lot of people. And the book that I'm writing currently, I believe is the best book that I've ever written. So I'm hoping and believing that that particular book would be helpful. So I am writing a book on just worship, the effect of music in our life, the effects of celebration in our life. And that's kind of the thought that I'm moving with. I'm also thinking of writing another book after I finish this book. I haven't even really finished it, but after we get going on this particular book, I want to write a book on happiness and the importance and the power of happiness. There's so many different angles that you can come by, but I figure that when it comes to happiness, that's something that is relatively similar for most people, at least most people within the Western world. Most people, they have a desire to be happy, to be fulfilled, to have their well-being and their needs met. So happiness is a very, very, very important subject matter. Well, Dr. Bunmi Abel TV, so happy to have you. It's wonderful seeing you. It's wonderful connecting with you. I'm so thankful that you're here to support our channel. And we have author Lamonique Mac. It's beautiful having you as well, because I'm actually talking about books. I'm just kind of talking about books in general. That's not what this evening is about, but I was just talking about books, saying that I am currently in the process of writing a book. And I was just kind of asking if there was anybody else who had an interest in writing a book. And we have Georgina here as well. It's great having you here. And you're saying, look, and Georgina was saying that she is looking forward to that book on happiness. I think happiness is very essential to our life. And for those who are people of faith, I think that it's even more important, because if you have a connection with God and God is working in your life, I think to some extent that should translate into your everyday living. So just wonderful having all of you here this evening. And before I actually move into the subject matter, the main thing I wanted to just kind of ask starting off is if any of you have ever had a desire to write a book, or possibly you've already written a book. And if you did have a thought of writing a book, what would the subject matter be? Oh, actually, I got a really good answer here. Author Lamonique Mac said that she actually publishes books. She's a publisher. She's a Christian book publisher. And our channel is really open to talking with authors and talking with leaders in general. So one day, hopefully, we can actually connect and have a good conversation around that whole entire space. Because I was talking to one of my friends today. He's trying to write a book. He wants to write a book. And we're just talking about it because I've been doing books for a while myself, so I have a bit of knowledge. I can still learn. There's still a lot more for me to understand about that. But when I was just talking with him, there was so much that he wanted to know, and so much we were sharing with each other, that I thought that, you know what, I'll start to have this conversation with some other people to see if they have an interest in that. I know that on YouTube, if a person is not into writing books, there's a lot of creative people here who are able to create in many different ways. And I think that it's great for us to encourage one another to create, and to encourage one another to develop whatever our skill or talent is. I am feeling more and more confident about writing And I think that it's something that's necessary because we all learn differently, but a lot of people are really into writing. But on the idea of happiness, I thought to myself, since we're going to be talking about a kind of heavy subject today, that I wanted to talk about this idea of happiness. You come from so many angles. You can talk about happiness from so many different perspectives, as it relates to your physical life, as it relates to your mental health and your thought life. Like, how do you control the negative thoughts that try to take over your mind? And also, as it relates to your spiritual life, how do you connect with God? How do you connect with higher thoughts and higher emotions outside of a lot of the negativity that we're in today? I had asked earlier just around books, and author Lemonique Max, she just shared that currently she has a series out called the Mixed Girl series. She also has some ministry books out, and that's great. That's great. As a matter of fact, if you feel free, you can even give us a email. I'm sorry, our website, or give us some information as to how we can actually access your books. More than likely, it's probably on Amazon, but if you had a quicker way or another way, you can always let us know as well. But it's great having you, and I'm happy to promote the books that you're sharing, especially because I'm a minister and I love the church. So if you have any ministry books or anything you want to teach as it relates to the ministry, for sure, we'd love to promote that and to know more about that. And the Mixed Girl series, I think that would be something interesting to kind of get to know a little bit more about. And for those of you who are here, it seems like you have a lot to share around just your talents and your gifts. And for those who are in the replay, feel free also to share information around your desire to write a book, or perhaps you've already written a book and have a series like Lemonique has as well. And I also have from Dr. Bunmi Abel TV. She says, my daughters have written books on Amazon, but I haven't been able to complete mine as yet. Well, one step at a time. I think the first step to creating a book or completing a book is having a desire to write it, and then having the opportunity and the time to put it together. And what I've learned as I've been doing this whole entire thing is that book writing can also be a team event. So since your daughters have already written books, maybe they can assist or help you in getting it out there and getting it done. I also know, and I think Lemonique would probably give the same encouragement, that you can always kind of just put everything that you have and get editors to help you and get kind of assistance outside of yourself, because I think so many times we limit the book to our time and our ability to get things done, when we can also have a lot of help. So Lemonique also wrote, she said, currently writing a ministry book called A New House, A New Car, about the dangers of being out of balance with manifestation. And that's true. I think that's a very necessary book for us to have nowadays. The book that I'm writing, I don't really have a title, so I'm open to kind of hearing people's thoughts about the title, because the book that I pretty much have done right now, like the book is done. It's more so about me developing the cover and about kind of developing the layout and so forth. So pretty much I'm just kind of waiting on the cover and so forth. So it's pretty much done. But the thing that I was debating on is the name of the book, because the name of the book that I have currently is The 5 Benefits of Worship. And it's a powerful book because it talks about the 5 major benefits of worship. And I think that it's very insightful, something that we can all learn from. But I'm wondering if the title should probably have a little more to it than just kind of simply 5 benefits of worship. A lot of my friends tell me simple is good, but I was thinking of maybe the 5 ways that worship can change your life, which is similar, but I don't really know. I haven't really set down the title. I have set down like the layout, and I've set down for the most part what the cover should look like, but I haven't set down the actual title. So that's something that I'm working on. So Dr. Bunmi Abel TV. She says Rebecca Abel, Star in the East, transitioning from primary to secondary school. Okay. And Rachel Abel, Passionate Poet 1 and 2. Ruth Abel, Quiet Time for Youth, Children 1 and 2. Beautiful, beautiful. I think it's amazing when kids can write and to encourage children to write from a young age because it's powerful in terms of just their development and their growth. And I really, really love the topic of quiet time. I've been considering writing a book on quiet time myself. We have a series, a YouTube series that we've done on quiet time, and I found it to be a great blessing. And I know a lot of people have found it to be a great blessing in terms of just hearing about spending time with God and being with God. And author Lamonique Mack, she says, this series is on Amazon. Okay. The first book in the series is called Poor Little Mixed Girl. These books are secular, but hopefully will lead others to my ministry books. No, for sure. And I think that writing has different aspects to it because I primarily focus on nonfiction books. But even in my focus of nonfiction, a lot of my writing is on self-development and also on ministry because I think it's important for us to be well-rounded and to be whole people as we are journeying in life day to day. But I also know that a lot of times people write fiction, and fiction speaks to us in many different ways. That artistic thought that we can share with one another through fiction, I think, is really, really powerful. So I think that that book sounds excellent. Poor Little Mixed Girl. Anyone who's out here that's looking for a read, I would encourage you to grab that book. And I'm going to try to take a look at it as well, even though, you know, I'm not so much little. Yeah, I'm not a girl. The poor, I can't really claim that either. But at the same time, I think that you can always learn from just different thoughts of life in this world. So beautiful book, and I encourage you if you have the time and the opportunity to grab that book. So we also have Georgina. Okay. I like that. I like that. So BOW is a nice acronym for a topic for the book I was talking about. And then she said the topic is benefits of worship. You know what? I actually like that title. Benefits of worship. Because it conveys the same idea, but makes it much more simple. I don't know if anyone has any other ideas on that book or just ideas on a whole of what you're working on and what you're doing. Would love to hear about that. If you don't have a title already placed in your heart, then it's an excellent opportunity to put some keywords in your title and subtitle. That's true. You know what? I'm gonna work on that as well because I know a lot of times in terms of selling digital books, it is a little higher level for people who have an interest in books, is in terms of selling books digitally and selling books period nowadays because everything is digital, is keywords are very, very important. So for sure I will take that into thought because having keywords is very, very important with your title. But I also like what Georgina is saying in terms of just the BOW, the benefits of worship. I really like that. Okay. And our doctor, she says, you're right. Encouraging them to put their thoughts on paper is a beautiful thing. Just talking about young people writing and becoming authors. I remember as a youth meeting an older man who had written his own book. He actually had about maybe 3 or 4 books. And I remember hounding him for hours because I couldn't believe that a person, could write a book. I was just so awestruck by that. And then I'm thinking to myself, imagine now having a kid your own age or having your child with their peers and they've written a book. I think that's phenomenal because the first man I remember reading who wrote a book that I knew, he didn't even really make a big deal out of it, but he wrote a couple of books and he had them in his briefcase and he showed me and I was like, oh my goodness, like that is amazing. So I think that Definitely, it is amazing to read. It's amazing to write. And in today's world, it's amazing to talk. It's amazing to listen and to learn from others. So I'm happy that we can come together and just talk with each other. I've gotten a lot out of this talk so far because I was really stuck on the title. And usually with a book, at least with me, I can't speak for other people. The title comes easy. The writing the book is a little bit hard, and then kind of outlining it, cover design, and so forth. That seems to be a little bit harder, at least for me in the past. But I'm finding kind of a switch this time, and the title has been kind of the thing that's been holding me of late. And oh, I love this comment. Thank you for sharing your work in progress and allowing others to share. I love sharing, and for me, this is just kind of the beginning because I'd love to have like a round table where I could sit down and talk with like authors like yourself, whether it's one on one or like in a group kind of setting, and just kind of pick each other's brains and share like the talents and the opportunities that we have that we can offer to others. Because I know as a publisher, the major thing that I would ask or I would want to know from a publisher is just the marketing aspect and how do you market your book and get your book out there. Because for me, it may not be the same for most people, but for me, the writing is pretty easy. Even having like the catchiness of the book, like getting interest from people for the book, I don't find that very hard. But the marketing, like reaching people that you don't know, and even reaching people that you do know who are interested in writing, that is one of the challenges that I find that would be great to talk to a publisher about, and to just have like the mindset of a publisher and to see what things can be offered to help those who are out there that want to write a book. I think my biggest learning in writing a book, because my gift is actually writing, or that's what I feel. It's really up to the people that read that can let me know if it's true. But my gift, I feel, is actually writing. But what I've learned through the journey of publishing a book is that you don't really need to know how to write well to be a published author. You just need to kind of understand the system a little bit and get some help. And it might cost you a little bit financially, but there's always editors that are out there. There's always writers that are out there that can help you. There are always friends and others who have giftings that if they're available, they can help you as well. And there's always publishers. You can always work with a publisher like author Dominique and kind of get some help and get some direction, because I realize that if there's a story in you, if you really want to get it out, there's a way to get it out. But that being said, I could maybe get back to the books a little bit later on, but I just wanted to kind of get into our discussion today, which is to some extent related to books in the sense of that we're just sharing stories with each other. And the story I want to share with everyone this evening is I want to share um, a little bit about our channel and a little bit about where we want to go with the channel. And I also want to share the events that I kind of had tagged for this particular meeting today, which is about the tornadoes that took place in America. And a lot of people are kind of going through that situation right now. But before I get into that, I think I have a few more comments that are here from Dr. Bunmi. She said, I'm thinking the topic of your book could be 5 ways worship opens doors. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. You see, I should have came to you all before, because all your titles I'm liking more than the title that I had. 5 ways worship opens doors. I really enjoy that. I really like that. I like the 5 benefits of worship. Sorry, I like the benefits of worship, and I like 5 ways worship opens doors. I really like that. I really like that. And from Monique, she says, marketing, it starts with the cover, subgenre, placement, keyword description. I like it. Very practical. And the cover is one that I really had in mind. I should have had keywords, but I didn't really think about that much. So you got my mind thinking about that. And the subgenre placement is something I haven't thought much about, but it's something definitely have to think about. I'm assuming that worship is a subgenre, but probably within that worship sphere, you can probably even make it more specific, whether it's gospel music or whether it is a particular form of worship. I guess it's something to kind of think about. But what I wanted to do is a book that's really on my heart is a book on happiness. I haven't really put a lot of energy in writing it. I put a lot of energy in studying it, but I haven't put a lot of energy in writing it. So I really want to start to move toward that. So I thought this evening that I would share um no, understandable. Dr. Bunny was saying that she meant title rather than topic. And to me, I was thinking title when you did write it, and I think that's an excellent title. It's an excellent title. And if you hear me teaching or you hear me sharing, you'll probably hear me using that title uh, for sure. And the same thing with Georgina's title. She'll probably hear me teaching using that title as well because I really like those two. I like the benefits of worship because it's really short and it's really sweet, but I also like the five ways worship opens doors because I think once I hear that, I want to know those ways because definitely there are doors that can be opened. And the funny thing about it is the other day I was having a conversation with another minister and we were talking for a long time, maybe over an hour or maybe even 2 hours about open doors because God has been showing them a lot of open doors and God has been showing me a lot of open doors. So I just love that title because I think it speaks to the time that we're in. A lot of people are frustrated and they see every door closed. But if you're to walk in God's spirit and to walk at the pace of just patience, God definitely can show us many open doors, many open doors. And I love this comment. It's easier to become a bestseller in a small subgenre. And you know what? I'm hoping and praying that one day we'll be able to actually sit down via live stream and talk a little bit more about that because I think that's a really, really big topic in terms of just talking about subgenres. I know a little bit about it, but I think that there's a lot to explore around that to understand, like, how to target a subgenre and how to really kind of hone in and understand that topic. For myself, I've been doing a teaching on dominion, and normally when I do a teaching, especially on YouTube, I do like maybe 2-3 weeks and then I kind of stop teaching it. And I was getting so much from Dominion that I just kept putting up videos after videos. I think I'm probably 15 or 16 weeks of Dominion. And I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna bore people, or people were gonna think like he's obsessed with Dominion. But it's funny because maybe it's just the nature of YouTube because we're so busy that it's hard to kind of really settle in sometimes and walk through some teaching. So I think that having the several weeks talking about Dominion, a lot of people have shared to me that it's been very helpful. So I think when it comes to smaller sub genres, it's also effective on YouTube and on other platforms. And I'm looking forward to first staying in contact and setting up some time, whether it's on your channel or my channel, or maybe both of us just talking about this topic and talking about publishing as a whole. Because for myself, I am a publisher too, but I'm coming from a different um, vein than Lomonique because I'm not so much looking for clients. I'm kind of just developing with the people that I've been working with and with myself, kind of developing our our plan and kind of developing what we're doing as it relates to publishing. So I'm open to talking to people about it and sharing thoughts, but I wouldn't classify myself as a publisher per se, where I'm working with a lot of um, people that I don't know or kind of helping people through the writing process. But I think it is important to have that help, especially when you're trying to understand all that goes on in publishing, because there's a lot to publishing books. There's a lot to publishing books. And I kind of got stuck on that topic because it's something that I love. If you watch most of my videos, you'll see that like I'm usually covered in books. And for me, I'm always encouraged and I'm always excited to talk with people who are working in the publishing field or who are writers or just people who are creative as a whole, because I think that writing is just one form of creativity. And when you're dealing with one creator to another creator, so long as you have patience with each other and try to understand each other, there's a lot we can learn. And I'm so thankful for just the interaction that we're having here today, just talking with each other. And for those who join us online, you're probably thinking, wait, you guys are talking about books and so forth. That is not the primary topic that we're talking about tonight, but I think it's an important topic to talk about because we so many of us have a message on the inside, and YouTube and speaking is one way to get that message out, but I think writing is another way to get that message out. And there's other ways to get your message out, but we should just have discussions and encourage each other and help one another. I was looking to help, and I've been so helped this evening because just from those topics that I've gotten, just from some of the subtle thoughts that were shared today about looking for keywords and subgenres and so forth, and just hearing like the different title suggestions and having this discussion with each other, like that alone has kind of helped me. And I'm hoping and praying that as we continue talking, that anything that's shared by myself or by others would be helpful to you who's watching the program, whether you're watching it live with us right now or you're watching it on the replay. The one thing I want to talk about very quickly is happiness, because I was saying that I do want to write a book on happiness, and there's so many different angles of how we can do it. But I want to talk about 3 critical things that we need to do to be happy. There are 3 critical things that we need to do to be happy. And number 1 is that we need to have someone to love. It's very important for us to have someone to love. When you have someone that you are connected with, when I'm saying someone to love, it's beautiful to have like a spouse, but I'm not so much talking about that. I'm talking about having, whether it's a family member or having a friend or having an acquaintance or having a brother or sister or having a person who shares similar beliefs to you. But it's good to have people that you're connected to and that you love in this world, because that's what brings happiness. Sometimes we create certain relationships and say that if I have this relationship, I'll be happy. And I'm not so much talking about that. And I don't 100% even believe that that's true, because sometimes we could have a beautiful relationship in terms of a partner and still not be fulfilled. Because if that partner doesn't understand you, if that partner doesn't enjoy the things that you enjoy, hopefully you'll have a level of happiness, but you'll probably not have complete and total happiness. And there's some people that say, no, I don't believe in complete and total happiness. I think that if you live life the way that you want to, and if you do things that are very important to you, and you have people around you that support that, people who inspire you to do what's right, but also people who enjoy things that you enjoy, I think that there's so much happiness that can come out of that. So for me, I think it's very, very important for us to have people to love, to have a group of people to love. And sometimes, because of life situations, because of busyness, because of shyness, there's so many different things that kind of stop us from feeling like we can have someone to love. But I believe that we do need a community of people that we love and that we enjoy being with. So that's one critical piece to happiness. A second piece to happiness is it's very, very important for us to have something to do. It's very important for us to have something to do. Because if we don't have something to do, then it's like it makes our life difficult. So we need to have goals, we need to have purpose, we need to have activities that we do. Sometimes people associate this to working, but I know a lot of people who have jobs that they don't really enjoy, that they're not happy with, and going to work and being unfulfilled will not make you happy. Sometimes we have to do that because we need to get a paycheck, we need to make some money. So not every time in life do I have a choice to say, nope, I'm not going to do work because I don't enjoy. But at the same time, what I think is very, very important is it's very important for us to find activities that we're passionate about. Find things to do that we're passionate about. One of the reasons why I like writing is when I'm writing, I find that I get into this place that I call the flow. I get into this place where I lose a sense of time, I lose a sense of stress, and I just kind of flow and I enjoy the process. So for me, I find myself to be a pretty creative person. So when I'm writing and I'm in the right place, because this doesn't happen every time I write, but when I'm writing and I'm in the right place, I feel like I'm just creating. I feel like I'm in the flow. I feel like the words are just coming through me. I also love to sing. So I find that when I'm singing and when I am developing music, something in me just flows and I have this joy that comes out of me. Dr. Bumi Abel on TV, she's like a singer. And when I hear her sing, I can see that she's in the flow, but I also feel it myself because she's doing something that she enjoys and she loves and she's good at. When I hear it, I enjoy it a lot myself. I don't know if I enjoy it because I'm a worshiper as well, but I assume that anyone who just listens to music and you see someone who does it well and they're enjoying it, it allows you to enjoy it. And that's probably the gift and the power of all creativity is that when a person is doing something and they do it within the flow and they do it with excellence and they do it with a passion and with love, generally speaking, it will impact others. It will help others. So I think it's very important to have someone to love or to have people to love. And it's very important to have something to do or to have things to do. And when I'm talking about things to do, I'm talking about being in that place of enjoying what you're doing, but also producing something, producing beautiful music, producing powerful books, producing inspiring words, producing encouragement that impacts and changes people's life, producing a heart of gratitude, producing a comforting um, um, expression, but just allowing yourself to be used to do those things that come natural to you that you love to do. I think is very, very important. If we're going to be happy, it's for us to have something to do. And then lastly, I think it's very important for us to have something to look forward to. Something to look forward to. And sometimes when we're talking about something to look forward to, we have to adjust. We have to adjust ourselves. Because one of the things I always wanted to look forward to was vacation. And not vacation to have time off from work. I'm saying to fly someplace, to visit someplace like that. Like that's something that I love to do. And because we're in that current pandemic with everything that's going on, we cannot go anywhere. So I have to develop within myself a different way to look forward to something in the future. So for me right now, I'm looking forward to my book coming out. I'm looking forward to events that I'm allowed to happen, that are allowed to take place in my area, where maybe I can meet up with a friend or meet up with a group of people, and and kind of enjoy the presence of those that are close to me. But at the end of the day, I think it's very important for us to have something to look forward to, whether that is an event, whether that is an accomplishment, whether that is something that I've just planned and created on my own. But I think it's very important for us to have something to look forward to. So in review, I'm going to review with Lomanique Mac. You need something to love, and then you need to have something to do. You need to produce with passion. And then lastly, you need to have something to look forward to. It's very important for us to have something to look forward to. And with all three of these, I think that we need to also have a level of creativity. The reason why I say this is when it comes to loving somebody, the danger of loving somebody is that they have the free choice not to love you back. They can mistreat your love. So we have to be flexible enough to have enough courage to go out and to love people, but have that flexibility that if it's not returned, or if it's returned with negativity, that we can find a way to still work love into our hearts and into our lives. So a lot of times people try to find a partner, it doesn't work well, so they're broken. But they forget that, you know what, you can still have a friend, and you have friends. You can still connect with your family, and you have your family. You can still connect with your father and your mother, you have them. And then other times, some of us are not interested in those kind of relationships, but we have maybe someone who's critical to us, like our grandmother or our mother or our father, and something happens to break up that relationship, whether it be that they pass, or whether it be that you get into an argument and something breaks, and then we lose that person to love. So we have to have a flexibility to be able to endure the danger of losing love, but still have a persistence to find people in my community, to find people in my neighborhood, and people in my family to still connect to and to love. I think we have to, when it comes to something to do, we have to have a flexibility, and we can't be so rigid to say that, I'm going to write a book, and if I don't get to write a book, then I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to give up. No, we have to have flexibility to understand there are some times I may not be able to get done the thing that I want to do, but there are some other things that I can do that I enjoy. So it's very important for us to have something to do that we have a passion in producing and doing, and to be flexible enough to kind of figure out how to work this plan into our life. And then lastly, we had already talked about something looking forward to. It's very important for us to get to a place where we can recreate what we're looking forward to. I was looking forward to vacation. Haven't been able to do it for the last 2 years. Probably won't be able to do it for the next 2 years. Who knows? Because I'm adverse to taking chances. Because I had one friend who went to Dominican Republic, and he was saying, "Aren't you going to go?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to be doing that right now," because we're all different. But in terms of the fact that I cannot travel, I'm now adjusting my thought process about looking forward to things in the future, and changing it to different things that maybe I haven't focused on as much in the past. But I just wanted to share that with you. I think it's very important for us to get our minds in the right place and to be excited about life. Okay, I like this comment. So Georgina says, "I look forward to praying," and says it sounds weird, but it gives me hope. Actually, I don't think it's weird at all, because if God is my best friend, then why wouldn't I want to talk to him? So I think that's very, very powerful, and it makes sense as it relates to something to look forward to. Okay, so also so many instances of seed time and harvest in the Bible. God showing us how to grow and learn and produce. That's true. It's a biblical principle. As a matter of fact, I think all three of these points of happiness are biblical principles. Someone to love, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So God is a loving God. As a matter of fact, the scripture says God is love. So it makes sense that we would be people that were fueled by love. Something to do. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. The scripture talks about seed time, harvest. talks about producing, it talks about planting and sowing, it talks about so many things as it relates to working, that I think that we need to implement that in our lives. And then I was talking about something to look forward to, like what's better to look forward to than heaven. But even beyond heaven, the scripture gives us so many things to look forward to. To look forward to spending time in the community of faith. To look forward to the blessings of God. To look forward to times of worship. To look forward to times of family unity. To look forward to so many different things the scripture talks to us about, that I think is very, very important for us to take that seriously. So one of my favorite questions: what country are you in, please? One of my favorite questions, because a lot of times people think that I'm in the US, but we're actually not in the US. We're actually in a city called Toronto, which is in Canada. So we're actually in Toronto, Canada. So that is where I'm from. And I know a lot of our viewers are from the United States. And we have quite a few viewers from the UK. I haven't met many viewers from Canada. Although I was in a conversation with someone that I met today who does YouTube, and he's also from Canada, from Toronto as well, which is unusual. I haven't met many people from Toronto who are on YouTube. But at the end of the day, that's what I wanted to share about happiness. And I wanted to cover that because we're going to talk now about what happened with the tornadoes in the US. In the United States of America, there was a tornado that took place the other day that traveled throughout 6 states in America and wreaked so much havoc, destroyed so many buildings. They were saying that it's one of the worst tornadoes to ever be in the United States. And Kentucky, where it hit the hardest, Kentucky said that it's the worst hurricane that they've ever had. So this particular hurricane, it traveled in Illinois, and in Illinois, it destroyed a Amazon building. So Amazon has like buildings within all these major cities in America and in Canada. And if you see these buildings, like these buildings are like cities, and it tore up one Amazon building, and I think that they said that it was about 3 football fields long. Is how far the tornado went into the Amazon building, and sadly, 6 people had passed because of the Amazon tragedy that happened in Illinois. And then this particular tornado was also in Missouri. It went through Arkansas. It went through Mississippi. It went through Tennessee, and then it went through Kentucky. And Kentucky was hit the worst. One particular city, one particular town, almost the whole town was destroyed by this hurricane. This hurricane just went crazy in that whole town. And when I heard the news, I was so sad to hear what had happened. I was so sad to hear what things had transpired. And I really want to keep all those people in prayer, and just to kind of continue to just think about them and think about the challenge that they're going through, because a lot of people died as it relates to the level of a hurricane, of a tornado, because they said that there is estimated around 100 people that had passed. It may not sound that huge as a number when you look at other tragedies, but when it comes to a tornado, usually you don't see those kinds of numbers because people are generally able to kind of get away or to leave. But this tornado was moving at such a rate, and it was such a large size that so many people were harmed and injured. And on top of that, the hurricane was so huge that it was taking out massive infrastructure and taking out so many buildings all at one time. And even though it was relatively a short period of time, it's one of the longest traveling tornadoes that have ever taken place. They were also saying that tornadoes usually, like the larger tornadoes, usually take place in March, April, and May. And for there to be a tornado in December is very unusual, but for it to be of this size, the experts were saying that like they've never seen it before, and they were saying that it is an event that took place that almost makes no sense. That's what the experts were saying, because they said a tornado in December is unheard of, much less a tornado like this in any month. Even in even in tornado times, a tornado like this is unheard of. They said that in the history of America, they're aware of only 2 tornadoes that were worse than the one that took place this weekend. And even with those 2 tornadoes, the damage was nowhere near to the damage that this particular tornado had set. So we definitely are praying for those affected by the tornado. We're definitely are praying for the cities that have been affected. Georgina had shared that some of the buildings were flattened. I saw the Amazon building, and even though much of the building did stand, when I saw where it hit, it's like the fact that only 6 people had passed. It's amazing because it was so devastating. It was just so horrific. I remember hearing someone on a phone call. I think that they were in the Amazon building, and she was covered with debris, and she was on a FaceTime, and the person behind her was just screaming and crying, and the woman that was on the phone was saying that, come and help us, because all we can do right now is just pray and trust that God will help us. But please, if you hear this message, come and help us. And then they did come down and they helped her and the other lady that was having some difficulty. But so much craziness has been happening around the world. Just crazy stuff has been happening around the world. But specifically when we're talking about this particular tornado, this tornado, it was a disaster. Churches were collapsed, courthouses toppled, and fire stations destroyed. There was so much going on. So much going on. And you were saying here that it hit a home for the elderly in Arkansas. And it's just like so many things were happening, so many people affected. And in some sense, it's a miracle that only, they're claiming that they're estimating about 100 people that died. It's a miracle that 100 people have died, because it could be far more people. When you're just looking at the scenario, like even looking at Amazon itself, had the workers been at the wrong place at the wrong time, far more than just 6 of them would have passed. And in the elderly home, I'm not certain what the damage was there, but the fact that all the residents didn't pass, that's a miracle. That's a miracle. So much has been happening. So many things have been going on. And Kentucky was actually one of the worst hit that they were saying. So the governor there was saying he doesn't even know what to do. So luckily, the president of the United States has stepped in and said that they're going to use federal assistance to come and help the people that are there. But if I was to even look at this from a broader perspective, so many horrific things have been happening throughout the United States. I'm not certain if you're from the United States, Lamonique, or others who are here. I'm not certain if you're from the United States. And for those who are on the replay, I'm not certain if you're from the United States. If you have been affected by this particular tornado, we're praying for you and we're believing that God will be able to help you. And definitely you're in our hearts. And I'm praying and hoping that things can turn around for you, because I know it's a difficult situation. For those who are not in the situation, I would encourage you to just write some words of encouragement in the comment section and to pray for the individuals that are going through this particular thing, because to have 6 U.S. states going through this situation, like that in itself is unheard of, especially the way that it happened and the timing that it happened. I actually, like I was saying earlier, live in Toronto in Canada. And yesterday, the wind was so crazy. Like I've never experienced wind like this in my life. The wind was so crazy. It was blowing things all around my home. I ran out to my car quickly to grab something. And when I opened my door, the wind grabbed my door and pushed it, and I felt like it was gonna almost rip the door off of my car. And I just grabbed the door back and I closed it. And I just think to myself that wasn't a tornado, that was just wind, and it created such a challenge for those of us who live in Toronto area. There was a challenge with that, and it was just wind. So I imagine for people who have actually gone through this horrific experience with the tornado, it must have been really, really difficult. Um, and Lamonique was saying she's from Alabama, so Alabama is down south. So I'm assuming that some of the storm or some of the winds may have come around your area as well. But as always, we're just praying for all of the United States, and we're praying for the people's protection and for the recovery for all that they're going through. And for those who have lost loved ones, our condolences are to you, and we're just praying for you that you'll be able to make it through this. And here is a very, very big question. But I guess before I come to that question, I just wanted to welcome Nicole Wilder Brown. Wonderful to have you here. And I agree with you 100%. It is so sad to hear what has taken place and what's happened throughout these various states. It's so sad. And I feel it. I feel it for those who are going through this. I think that Lamonique asks a powerful question. I don't think I'm going to deal with this too much, but she says, she's asking, do you believe there's a spiritual connection with what's going on in the US? And my short answer is, yes, I do believe there's a spiritual connection. I probably won't go into the details of it because at the end of the day, I think most of the people that are affected by what happened, I don't really think that there is any particular cause on their side why these things are happening. But I do think that the United States as a whole and the climate that is there, that some of these situations have spiritual connections. I don't think that you can be unjust to people and speak as if you're just and it not catch God's attention. I don't think that you can purport to say that you are a follower of God and that you are a person who loves God, and you can look at your neighbor and not have that love for that other person. So because of that, I think that there are spiritual connections to events like this and other events, because for most of us, who are like, at least above the age of 20, we're seeing situations that we've never seen before. I've never seen a worldwide pandemic, where everybody is under social distancing, masking, having to stay at home, and all these kind of things. I know a lot of states have relaxed that, and a lot of countries have relaxed those kinds of rules. But I've never seen a time when there was ever any rules like that. I've never seen a time where there's so many earthquakes in diverse places. I've never seen so many people fighting with each other. I've never seen so many people fighting with each other with such silly things like if I need food to eat and you're withholding food from me, I understand why people fight over that. I don't understand why people are fighting over masks. Someone's not wearing a mask and someone wants to punch them, or somebody is wearing a mask and somebody wants to punch them. I don't get it. There's a lot of division that's taking place in the world, because we can center it on the United States, but I don't think it's just the United States. There's a lot of division that's going on around the world. And I believe that there are some spiritual repercussions for this division. I cannot say that I know God and I believe in God and do ungodly things and call other people out for the ungodly things that they do and never take into consideration my own behavior. I find in the United States that there's such a political tension, and there's so many things that are political that people are almost putting aside their faith to hold up the banner of their political views. There was one, without getting into it too much, there was one government official that was saying he doesn't understand why people are pulling down statues of slave owners that have been there for so many years. They're great men. And I'm thinking to myself, how can you be a Christian and think a person who was a slave owner didn't have some kind of immoral, what do you call it, character? And I think that's where we struggle. That's where we struggle. But I think that's a great question. We could do a whole entire talk on the spiritual connection. The spiritual connection. Um, okay. So we have Yvonne. Actually, this is my very, very good friend, Evangelist Gentles. She says that yes, I never heard so much wind action where I am in Kitchener. For hours, we can only just imagine what the tornado victims experience, and that's true. And the funny thing is that you're in Kitchener, and I'm all the way in Oshawa. So if you know Canada, Kitchener and Oshawa, that's about 3-4 hours away from each other, around that. And both of us are experiencing extreme wind that we've never seen before, and we're so far away from each other. And that's within Canada. So we were experiencing something that was concerning, while other people were experiencing their home and their businesses and their workplaces ripped up. And it's kind of interesting because a few weeks ago we were talking about, and this is back to Lominique's question about spiritual connection. A few weeks ago we were talking about a young man who had taken the lives of people because of the businesses, because he was trying to protect the business. So he felt that to kill somebody was more important than allowing them to break a window, because a window has more value than a person's life. And then lo and behold, after he's acquitted of this kind of crime, so many people who were supporting him, and this is not true for everyone who lives in these states, but so many people from these states that were supporting him, now they had somebody destroy their property that they cannot shoot. And sometimes I think things like this happen, and I don't say it in the spirit of joy. I say it almost like Jeremiah in the scriptures. Because when Jeremiah saw Israel just coming to annihilation, it hurt his heart because Jeremiah is Israel. So when you're seeing problems happening in America and in North America and around the world, the Western world and around the world as a whole, even though there's no joy in what is following up spiritually, at the same time, you can't deny that there's some kind of spiritual connection. And for that reason, I think it's very important for us to do things that are proper and to do things and treat people the proper way, because I would like to be able to stand in one of these cities or one of these states and say, I treated people right and my house was broken down. God, I don't understand why. That's what I want to be able to say. But I do think that there are a lot of people in Illinois and Missouri and Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky. I think there's a lot of people in those cities that cannot say to God, I don't understand why. Because of the wickedness that they've done to people, they could perceive that they deserve for that to happen. And I'm not talking about people who have fallen into a situation that they haven't committed anything wrong. I'm not talking about people who are innocent. I'm talking about people who have done wickedness, and now this tragedy is coming to their life. I'd rather be a person that doesn't understand why something bad happens to me than to be a person who knows that because of my stance of taking people's lives for property, my property has been taken from me, from a person whose life I cannot take. But Dominique was saying, I think the case of Kyle Rittenhouse has been misrepresented by mainstream media. Well, you know what? I think we all have our own different perspective. But at the end of the day, in people that I've spoken to, there are some people that have said for them, I'm not even talking about Kyle, that it's more important for their property to be protected than for the lives of other people to be protected. It's more important for them to not be taxed and for them to keep their money and for young children in their community to die because the children's lives are not as important as their bank account. And to me, I don't know how else to interpret that because I think that when you are valuing things over people, it leaves you in a place where tragedy will become your normal because it's very important for us to value people because God values people. Things are meant to serve people, but people are meant to love one another. And I think that we're living in a time period where people love things, but they don't love people. And Georgina was just sharing that she's from the same town as me. She's from Toronto, or city, I should say, because I don't think Torontonians like being called a town. We're too big to be a town. So great having you. Great having you. Well, we're kind of dealing with this situation of just what happened with the tornadoes. And I think that it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that what's happened. And I'm believing that more than ever, it's important for us to see people in the light of just loving people, and not to see people in the light of our own philosophies, in the light of our own thought processes. Because I have very strong beliefs, and everyone here has very strong beliefs. But at the end of the day, for myself, I value human life more than I even value my opinion. Like if I see somebody struggling, I would hope that my question wouldn't be, what is your belief system? I would hope that my question would be, how can I help them? And I think that we're living in a time where it's very important for us to care. It's very important for us to care and to love others. So Lamanique was just sharing, yes, God does value people. God once told me that people are the gems. And I think that's the truth. I think that's the truth, is there's so much polarity and so much tension in the world that it's easy for us to fight one another. I remember having a conversation with one of my barbers, and I'll never forget this. I never forget this. We had a conversation with one of my barbers, and he says to me, "Are you a Christian?" I said to him, "Yeah, I'm a Christian." And he asked me about 10 different questions about beliefs, 10 different questions about beliefs, because pretty much he wanted to see what I believe. So he doesn't know this because I didn't tell him this. He and I come from a similar church background, but because he's newer to it, he doesn't know who I am. But from when I'm hearing him talk, I kind of know where he's from. So every question he's asking me, I believe the same thing that you believe. So he asked me a whole bunch of questions. Most of them were pretty significant questions, and I just told him I believe what you believe. So we just keep going through this whole thing. Then he came to two final questions. He said to me, "Do you believe that you can use alcoholic wine for communion?" So I asked him, like, "What do you mean by alcoholic wine?" He said, like, the fermented wine in the Bible that they use. Do you believe that you can use that for communion? So I said to him, "Sure, I don't have a problem with that." Then he says to me, "Do you use that?" I said, "You know what? Yeah, I've used that in my life." And he goes, "Oh, okay, that's good." He goes, "Do you believe that people can use grape juice in their communion. He doesn't ask me, do I believe in if I use grape juice? He just asked me, do you believe that people can use grape juice in their communion? And I said to him, sure, why not? And the man wanted me to get out of the barber chair. He wanted me to know that I'm not saved, that I don't know God, because people that drink grape juice for communion, they're not real Christians. And I'm thinking to myself, you had a conversation with me, asking me question after question after question after question after question after question, and all you were really looking for was for me to say no so that we can have a fight. And I find that as Christians, I think that we're starting to get to that place, that people are not looking to be able to have the freedom to have different opinions, to have different ways of viewing things, but to understand that we all serve one God. And not only do we serve one God, that God values people and God values the life of people. And because of that, we can have differences of opinion. We can have our deep-seated convictions. But at the end of the day, even though we have our deep-seated convictions, if it's not scripture and if it's not God speaking, it's just my opinion. And I think that we're living in a time period where so much suffering is happening, and I never ever want to belittle people's suffering. So even in how I'm answering about there being spiritual connections as it relates to what took place, even though I'm saying that, I'm not blaming the people, especially innocent people who did nothing wrong. I'm not blaming people who did nothing wrong for events that take place. But I am aware that if I live in a city and the city is doing evil and I didn't do evil, that evil things will happen in my city. And I think that we should always be aware that there are repercussions for people who do things that are wrong. And sometimes we find ourselves in the midst of it. So, so Georgina was just sharing that she mentioned that she was in Toronto because she felt the heavy winds impact her. Yes, and we're quite a ways away from Kitchener, quite a ways away from Kitchener. And Lemonique Max says, sounds Pharisee-like. He was looking to cross your T and dot your I's. And the thing that's funny is that, like, I can say that about my barber because he's kind of the extreme example. But I think many times, if you're not careful, that is what's becoming the Christian tradition, is people who both identify as being Christian and sometimes very similar. Like sometimes you're from the same exact church, sometimes you're from the same exact denomination, sometimes you're from the same exact background, like you have similar belief system, and you're having wars with each other. And you're having wars with each other like a Pharisee on these little crazy things that don't really mean much. I remember when I was in Bible school, they used to have this one subject that I found to be so ridiculous. Is in history, some theologians would come together because they didn't know what an angel looked like. So then they were having a debate about how many angels can fit on the top of a pin. And some said thousands, and others said one, and others said none. But there was a lot of crazy thought patterns. And I think as Christians that we want to get to the place where we have a broader perspective to focus in on God, to focus in on the things of God, and not be so caught up with having debates or having arguments with each other. I like what Yvonne Wrighty says, that wine grape juice, kind of laughing. And it's funny because To me, this is a silly situation, but there are people that have wars about communion wars, and they have a particular style of how they believe communion should go. And if you don't follow that style, then they don't want to have fellowship with you, or there's a division around having communion. Whereas instead of highlighting the importance of communion and the importance of being connected to God, people try to highlight the differences of how people do it. And and sometimes I am taken aback how people who have pretty much the same philosophy about communion still have wars. Because some people they fight because they said you're not supposed to give the bread first. You're supposed to give the wine first, and they fight about things like that. So just interesting thing to talk about. So I just wanted to welcome Pastor from His Word. It's wonderful having you today, Pastor God's Power. It's wonderful having you today, and welcome to our discussion. I think now is a perfect time for me to kind of move into our second last segment, where I just wanted to celebrate some of our fellow channels that are online with us. So I just wanted to say thank you for author Lamonique Mack just sharing a lot of her thoughts today. And I know she has a beautiful YouTube station where she shares her gifts and she shares her talents as a book publisher. So for sure, if you can check out her YouTube station, that would be amazing. And I'm certain that she would really, really enjoy that. I'm also just asking you to check out some of her videos, leave some comments, and encourage her in what she's doing. And let her know if you have any questions around publishing, you'd like to know more about it. I think that's great. For myself, I'm really inspiring other Christians, especially those that are leaders. I'm inspiring, especially those that have the gift of creativity to write. I'm inspiring you to think about at least minimum writing an article, but on a broader perspective, thinking about a book that God may put on your heart to teach others more about Jesus. And if you could do that, that'd be great. But the one thing I would like to say is that I'd like to highlight a channel of the week. This is the channel of the week. We have His Word with us today, and his channel is the channel of the week. I want to celebrate His Word and thank God for all that you're doing on here on YouTube. He has an excellent ministry that he has on Saturday mornings where he just celebrates Jesus and shares a powerful word to encourage the body and to encourage those that are seeking God through YouTube and through the social media platforms as a whole. I know that he has a service coming up this week on December the 18th. I can't recall the time. I believe that the time is 9. So 9 a.m. Or you can actually I'll put a link in this video so you can actually just go to his station and see the advertisement for Music in the Air that's going to be taking place this Saturday. And we could just celebrate with him and celebrate with one another as we have a time of just worship and we have a time of praise. So I just wanted to introduce you to Music in the Air, which is going to be taking place this Saturday with His Word. So thank you so much, sir, and you are the channel of the week. Now, I also wanted to talk about the song of the week, and the song of the week is from a young lady by the name of Jennifer Barth. Jennifer Barth also has a YouTube station, and we're going to be putting the link down below for those of you who are watching the replay so that you can see her YouTube station, and she has a powerful worship period that she calls spontaneous worship. Spontaneous worship, and she is singing powerful and blessed songs that I think are highly, highly, highly anointed. Highly, highly anointed. I really enjoy her ministry, and I enjoy what God is doing through her. And I'm believing that you also will enjoy her ministry when you get an opportunity to listen to it. And in her spontaneous worship, you'll be able to see the clip yourself. But she has this song. How's it go again? I know you can, Jesus, you are God forever. Something like that. I know you are God forever. But I'll just put a link on, and you can check out her videos, and you can just encourage her as she continues to worship the Lord. Powerful, powerful worshiping woman of God. And I really enjoy hearing her worship anytime I get a chance to. But I just wanted to share those two things with you, and trusting that God is able to just continue to work in our lives. Yes. So the service for His Word is going to be 4 p.m. GTM time, but I'm trying to remember what it is Eastern time. I believe that's going to be 9 a.m. Eastern time. 9 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're in the Eastern area like myself, it's 9 a.m. If you're GMT, or you're in the UK, then it's going to be 4 p.m. But I would just encourage you to be ready that day, whatever your area in, because you may not be GMT and you may not be Eastern, but wherever you are, if you can check out his YouTube station, which we will put a link in there, then you'll be able to see his advertisement for Music in the Air, and you'll be able to see the time period that it will take place in your area. So if you are in the UK or the GMT time period, it's 4 p.m. And if you are in the Eastern time period, which I am in, and many people from the United States are in, it will be 9 a.m. So I just wanted to encourage you to attend and to be a part of that powerful celebration. And I guess in closing off, I just wanted to share some final thoughts. And the final thoughts I wanted to share is that when we're dealing with difficult times and tragedies, it's very important for us to have a greater hope. Earlier, I was talking about happiness being someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. And I think the ultimate happiness can be found in your relationship with God. So God should be the one that we love because He first loved us. I think also God is building His kingdom. He has a family business, and He wants you and I to be a part of that business. So I encourage you to make a part of what you do be the will of God, and be what God has purposed you to do, and do something for God, whether that is evangelizing and sharing Christ with others, whether that is just encouraging others, but use what God has given you to do something for God and something to look forward to. I think on a daily basis, we can always look forward to the time that we spend with God. But I think it's also very important for us to look forward to the time after this world, where we will have eternity and we'll have life with Jesus. So I'm so thankful for everyone who has been a part of this time period. And I'm so thankful that we were able to just spend some time with each other. And I'm just believing and trusting that God will bless you, and that hopefully we'll continue to grow with each other and know more and more about God, because God is good. So thank you so much for everyone who's visited today. I'm so thankful that my friend His Word was able to come here this evening, and I'm happy that I was able to just share with all of you that this Saturday, December the 18th, we're going to be having Music in the Air, which is a time and a celebration of Christ. And we're coming to the season where we, on a mass level, celebrate Christ, even though I believe the best season to celebrate Christ is during the 65 days of the year. So I'm going to be closing off the VC TV show, which is the virtual TV show with Neville Solomon, your host. And I'm praying and believing that you'll have a blessed and wonderful week. Until we meet again, God bless you. Bye-bye.